Everybody, good evening. This is Dr. Rao from my house, Be a Pal in Clubhouse, and also all my friends in Wisdom, and in Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Uh, Something happened with my Facebook connection, so I got to fix it. So many channels, right? It's recorded on the Clubhouse Wisdom, and also on the Restream, which which I use for the YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Nice to be here. This is a regular room I'm doing on a daily basis to really uh, explore the issue who we really are. So I kind of posed a question like that: do you know who you are? And there were several people concluded that they know who they are, but they didn't enter into the discussion of what is the real meaning of us. What do I mean by your real self? For me, that's a very important question, and it's kind of fundamental question. Answering that question, we have answers to lots of things in life. There's something you got to undertake. It's not something I say or anybody says, but what is that existential question that you have? And I made a video on that this afternoon. It's about what are existential issues and what did our ancient philosophers, sages, rishis, or the scientists or the religious people say about the existential issues, and how they were able to probe into it much deeper than we do in this modern life of hurry, worry, and run all the time. No time to stop and reflect, right? That's our regular life. But if you are reflecting on things, on deeper issues of life, that's when this thing comes up: who I am really am. Who am I? Right? That's a big, big question. And that's a question for people who are inquiring about their self. That is the self-inquiry, they said, right? So that's more than just calming the mind or meditating or anything like that, right? So this is a much more fundamental issue, and finding that you can be peaceful, you can be happy, you can be blissful, and you can be really uh, in harmony with our world and other people and all that. So that's where you really want to uh, understand who am I. Then being that self is the bigger challenge. But if you think I am this personality, I'm all this that I put together in life, maybe you're missing something, your intuitive inner self, which you feel from the beginning, from the time of your childhood. You have this sense of yourself, right? And that you have to touch to really have peace and quiet within you. See, many of the young people nowadays, they have these enormous burdens of achievement, accomplishment very early, and competing, and really not being cared that way, right? So they are pushed or they are pulled, and then they are given goals, and they are given so many things that they are to achieve before they are approved or accepted or given love and all that, right? So these young kids, what they are going through, if you look at the students, if you look at the very young people, they are doing a lot of stuff than what we did before. at the expense of fun in their life, you know, or carefree life that used to be there as the child. You have that carefree life, right? And that was not there. And on the other hand, they have this quite hesitation or inner desperation or negative feelings about them, or even committing suicide, or not having any worthiness within them. They feel worthless, right? They feel lost lots of time. And that is a bigger tragedy of our generation, because we have so advanced in our scientific discoveries, and we could go to other planets, but we don't have peace and quiet and harmony here on Earth, you know. So a lot of it has got to do with our mind, and then what is beyond mind, you know. And that is what I kind of gathered as a physician. You know, I was an internal medicine. I did my preliminary and also medicine in India. But soon after that, I had to come here. I did come and joined in geriatric medicine. And after that, I went to New York to do my internal medicine in Coney Island Hospital in Brooklyn. And after that, I came to the Midwest because I was kind of feel homely with Chicago and also Midwest culture, all that. So I settled down in Iowa and ran a practice for 3 decades. And then I kind of sold that big practice and opened a small practice. Now it's online only, right? But then I did a master's in informatics, and I spent a lot of time with the healing systems of ancient times, yoga, Ayurveda, and Vedanta, you know, all these things, right? And that was my real touch with that ancient experiences, ancient insights into life and all that. It's not like a book reading or just taking this into something like a, okay, this is what I will read and forget about. No, it was more like a, what are the insights that I could have by really experimenting with these things, experiencing the insights that were given to them. You know, I think that's a blessing for me. At the same time, responsibility also, because I saw modern health is really taken over by administrators and pharma and insurance companies, and depriving of people the possibility of to be living healthy, well, and really having some joy in life. You know, and so many people are really given tools that can spoil their health. The processed food, the sedentary activity, and this neurotic behavior with all the data, all the multi-stimuli that we are exposed to. And some of the people may be innocent, but most of the people are kind of don't really uh, pay attention to what is going on underneath all these lifestyles that we kind of created in the garb of sensory pleasure, in the garb of something simple that you could do, but then actually you go to McDonald's because it is readily available 24 hours, cheap food, a nice restaurant, but that is all garbage food. And when we are putting it in our mouth and eating that too. And we condition young kids with that garbage food, really. Junk food, really. We don't want them to eat that, but then we kind of take it there, as home cooked meals are not really done that well. I think people are aware. People are getting some kind of discipline in their life about that, but it's not really seen in the major way, right? Still, they do the very much lot of business, and not only them, all the fast foods, right? So why are we allowing all this uh, kind of lifestyles, and then paying for it with our health. And then at the end of it, people don't have really vital, joyful life in their, later decades, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and all. So they get to be taken away from their homes when they were sick, and then they were put in the nursing homes for a long time. And they were existing, a lot of them, just like vegetables, but then they're fed mature by the medications. So whenever I go to the nursing home to see the patients, I used to see that these have really no social life. They will be given medications, they put to it, and then they have some game, some engagement, just to get the day go by. But there's no meaning, no purpose for those people who are taking long-term, um, living in the nursing home. That's very painful to me to watch, and then I feel for those people, right? So they have work, they have produced the families, and then they don't have anybody to come to visit them. They don't have any fun in life or no meaning in life, right? Versus what I saw with the ancient yogis and all that, they were involved in life. They had a broad spectrum of life. They had some purpose in their life, meaningful. Each day they served what's called seva. Seva means service. They were involved in helping somebody, some cause, or they may be just going to people where they don't have any food and serving food. They may be going to hospitals and then helping all the patients that are there, or they may be going to schools to teach voluntarily, or they may be conducting events to enlighten the crowd that comes. And then even now, that kind of traditions are followed in some parts of India, some segments of India. But majority of the India has become as materialistic, as commercial as anywhere else. Okay, that's swept away. But then, if you want to really find out what was the real culture of India, what was the culture that had been producing major insights into existence of humanity, human life. Then you can look for it, you will find it. Like I did, I looked for it, and then I found those sources where I listened to people, I kind of interviewed people, I kind of studied their summaries of what they did, and then I was led to this uh, sages who taught you or showed you how to go within yourself by yourself without the help of any books and all that, and know what is going on in a human being, and really learning the operations of mind, operations of emotional self, and our philosophical self, and all that, right? Out of all that, there are states of consciousness that you reach where universal wisdom is acting as coming down, a conduit that you have become, because you have become very silent and quiet and harmonious. So this universal knowledge, universal truths about universal questions come to you, right? It's not like a medium or anything. No, it's like kind of understanding the cognition and the movement of mind, and subsiding that, keeping quiet, and then really being intelligent about things, and then having the perception to look at things in a different way. Like you look at patriotism in a different way, you look at religious affiliation in a different way, you look at how you treat the opposite gender in a different way. So your perception goes beyond the thinking and makes you perceive real good uh, uh, insights by yourself, and that is where those perceptions increase the more you are involved. You will have a normal life, there's no problem, but your capacity to look at the world, to look at the things that are going on in a different way, that is non-sensory or above the sensory, and non-intellectual, not from the somebody else's knowledge, but your own direct perception by which you understand the life and all the things around the life, right? You look at how people become greedy and how people want to amass things at the cost of other people. And you look at divisions that were made because we identify with certain things and then separate all of them. So not any number of examples I can give you, but then the world will be seen completely differently when you have this extra sensory, extra uh, intellectual, but they're not by intellect, not by sensory, but you have this seeing beyond what is ordinary and then see what is behind whatever you are studying, right? That perceptive ability. So with that, you can look at everything very differently, right? So people are not instinctual, but people are really deeply reflective, deeply thoughtful, real thoughtful in the sense thought itself does not limit you, but it will allow you to go beyond that, right? So you use the mind to study itself and then come to the conclusions about the mind and understand mind better so that you are not really influenced by vagaries of mind going that way and this way, right? So that's a beautiful thing to discover that there is so much more beyond thought, right? It was very difficult to understand in the beginning, but then the deeper you go within yourself, you're alone and you don't depend on anything, but you are not lonely because you are one with everybody, everything, right? There's the loneliness completely disappeared, you know. So that kind of thing is very, very important to understand, you know. So let's say a friend is coming here. So the wisdom app. Hello.
Hello, Dr. Rao. How are you?
I am good, Yusuf. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
I was going to say, when I was in the hospital, I remember occupational therapy most fondly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and I think that doing something meticulous and laborious and perhaps monotonous is very important.
Yeah.
And it's really something lacking in the labor market.
Yeah, they're mechanical because they are told to do something and they do the same thing, and then the assembly work or something like that, they get bored, you know. But in occupational therapy, usually they have goals for you. They want you to achieve these things and then get better, you know. And then that
Well,
will,
yeah, but it's worth it in and of itself. I mean, it's really, to this day, I still do what at a hospital would be. I mean, I'm in my residence, right? But I still do to this day what would be considered occupational therapy, but I do it because it has its own value.
Yeah.
I'm a calligrapher and I write fables.
Yeah.
And I make God's eyes. I don't know if you know what those are. It's when you take two sticks and you put some wire around the middle and then you make a diamond out of yarn.
Ah, okay. I know calligraphy because you remember Steve Jobs? He was in calligraphy before, you know, he had the Apple experience and all that. But then he brought in the calligraphy in the appearance of Apple phones, Apple watches, Apple computers. So compared to the Windows PC, there is this calligraphy staring at you from the Apple products. Did you notice that?
No.
Yeah,
I didn't know that Mr. Jobs was a calligrapher. That's interesting.
Yeah. He was.
Well, I've been doing it for about 20 years myself.
Yeah.
I've even created fonts to export onto a word processor.
Yeah, wonderful. It's a wonderful art. That's what I'm saying. You know, I appreciate
right now,
that.
I don't have those resources, but I still like to do names.
You know, Yusuf, there's one thing I want to point out with this calligraphy. If you have real balance within, then the calligraphy comes very well. Or when you're doing the calligraphy, your inner balance will be much improved.
Yeah.
You must be
one
very
thing I do wish,
yeah.
I wish the calligraphy were more laborious, but it's very easy for me to do, so it's not very laborious or meticulous.
Yeah, in the beginning it is laborious, but then now you got to get
right.
that.
I mean, well, in any case, I mean, I just think in general in the labor market, if there were more work available that was more laborious and took longer, but these days, if it's not on an industrial scale, it lacks value in the labor market.
Yeah.
And I see this as a problem.
Yeah, it is, because health is basically move the body and keep the mind silent, or at least quiet,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think you are appreciating both of those when you are doing this occupation therapy and all that. Yeah, sure.
There's too many jobs that involve even a little bit of unnecessary human relations. Like I was a customer service representative for quite some time.
Okay.
And I mean, that is all well and good for, honing one's ability to walk on eggshells, but that's not like a lasting, I don't think that has intrinsic, say, spiritual value, So, yeah, I mean, I just wish we were living back in the Middle Ages, I guess.
No, we cannot be. But what it is we can understand and implement them. For example, calligraphy is something lost art, but then the people who are doing it, they enjoy that very much, right? So it's like that. Yeah, it's like that. Now we don't have this printing, we have data, we can just tell the chat GPT, it will spit out everything, and then you order another printer to do it. So lots of kids don't even know how to write properly nowadays. They say that art of writing and all that is kind of took a back seat, right? So many of people, they don't write the same kind of very meticulous writing that we had. But now we used to write letters, we used to do all those things when I was growing up, right? So we got to write them very legibly. Even, President Barack Obama, he has a very nice hand. When he wrote, he was very meticulous, very nicely writes the hand.
Huh. Yeah. I'd like to analyze it sometime.
I think you will have fun, because the more you see this invasion of the technology, I don't have problem with that. But then I don't want to lose our human possible hidden talents that we could develop, like this calligraphy or writing well. That is being neglected, But when you do that, you bring your mind, your heart, and your body with your nicely sketching something on the calligraphy. That used to be the art in the Middle Ages, even Europe, everywhere they used to write beautiful calligraphy,
Yeah, I mean, it's, so what line of medicine are you in?
I'm in internal medicine.
Okay, that's like organs?
Yeah, no, but we do 12 specialties, but then we are like a gatekeepers of the clinic. When they come, we do that. It's more than family medicine. It's internal medicine. We have much more, into 12 specialties. So you have a diabetes, you come to me, and I see you, I manage you. But if you get into trouble, I send you to the endocrinologist. That kind of thing. So
can I run something by you, doctor?
Medical thing.
I have a background in science. I majored in biology, and it wasn't until after I majored in biology that I learned that some of the genetically modified foods, they are programmed on a codon level to die of themselves. There's a suicide codon that's put into besides the pesticides resistance. I mean, that's something you might want to engineer, right? But when you put a codon in to the DNA to program it to die of itself, that doesn't seem like it would be very good for livestock or mankind.
There is a branch developing now. I was giving a couple of lectures on that, and then I did research on that. But what it is an educational research level. It is called nutrigenomics. Nutragenomics or nutrigenomics. What it is
Sure.
the foods that you eat can change your genes. That's one thing. The other thing is your genes will adapt to the foods that have the codon too. So it's like eating what is compatible with your genome structure, and that is coming up. There's a lot done already, but then you cannot create diets to according to the masses, genes, and all that. But then it is coming because it's on the way. Probably another 10, 20 years, we will see that you will know what is your genome, what is compatible foods are, what you can eat, what you should not eat, and all that. It's like a more advanced nutritional
Yeah, I
information.
tend to follow two rules. I
Yeah.
say if there's, I mean, I know a little bit of Latin and all that and chemistry and stuff like that, but I tell people that if there are many, many syllables to the ingredients list, kind of maybe avoid that. And I also say that the best food has a skin on it
Yeah.
because that's fresh.
Yeah.
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 Whether it's
Even
a chicken or an
orange,
apple.
even an orange, the white thing after you peel out the yellow, there is a
Sure.
white. That is very rich in vitamins. So I always eat oranges. But I don't make a juice and drink the orange. That is the difference. As I became into 60s, and now I eat oranges with that white skin and everything. So yeah, you're right. The skin has
Yeah.
got a lot because the fruit is trying to protect itself by developing something very nice around it. So there are so many fruits. So if you eat them with apples also, if you wash them and eat them with the skin, it's much better because they have a very rich fiber and protein in it. So you don't want to be refined, and you want to be eating with what the thing has. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think when it comes to, disease and distress and illness and stuff like that, whether you're talking about on a social level or an individual level,
Yeah.
I think the solution is a very kind of base solution. And I think that the aim is an ideal. It's you kind of have to aim for the ideal, but then the solution is still very base.
Yeah, it's the wellness, Yusuf. What it is we have our body has its own intelligence, right? But we interfere with the intelligence by the wrong
Yeah.
foods and not eating properly, or not drinking enough water, or really getting used to synthetic foods and synthetic drinks. And also we think too much, and then we really don't take times to take a relaxation break and things like that. So I kind of preach people how to be well and how to prevent things. And then if you get sick, okay, we'll treat you. But then can you try to
Well,
be,
that's great.
yeah, try to be self-conscious about being healthy and well. That's why I go deeper and deeper. The more you understand yourself as a human being, the more you will know, you will be aware of what is happening in your life, what are the habits you developed, and all that you will be, nobody need to tell you, you will be aware. Then you will be able to do the right thing for yourself by yourself. So that's
Yeah.
my education effect is, okay, be aware of whatever is going on with your health, but then self-conscious about what I can do to improve it and what can you do daily. This is self-care we talk about, and especially the doctors I work with, they don't pay attention to that, and they kind of expect you to take care of yourself, and then they get burned out because they are doing the wrong choice. They don't sleep properly, they don't eat properly, and then they don't really, not to react is important, but then they react for every small thing. All these things add up
Yeah.
to damage your health.
I have a psychiatric condition.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to be aware of a psychiatric condition. And then at the same time, you have to recognize that the complexes from the past, that life has acquired, life experience, the complexes, those are entirely parallel, but at the same time, they're parallel to the brain disorder. But at the same time, they're very, one affects the other.
Yeah, I'm talking about regular
that's a major conundrum.
I'm talking about regular people. So, regular people.
Sure.
I'm not talking about you should do nothing when you have a, organic illness, psychiatry or physical, whatever. That is a different matter. But I'm talking about general health. If you take general society, many people are so much oriented towards the work or running. They're neglecting their own wellness. That's what I bring forth to, because I practice those. What I'm doing, I'm telling other people to do.
Well, do you suppose that there's an art of doing less?
Yeah.
And still practicing awareness at least, or see, that's kind of the thing. When you're doing less, maybe that's when you're thinking for the sake of thinking more, like you were talking about.
Yeah, you don't have to do less, but be more aware of whatever you're doing. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't do it in a fog or in a mind lost in the past or the future, but praise what is happening here and now. And then you will be able to do them more qualitatively, and then you will have results better. So that way you will be expending less energy, but you can do a lot more. I do a lot of work. I did several videos today. I did 2 or 3 hours of conferences, and then I still have a lot of energy. It's a question of what we are bringing to the work. Don't escape work. Work is worship, like for me. And then whenever I do the work, I put my full attempt for everything that I do. So that kind of thing I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, work is a kind of, I think you said it's worship.
Yeah.
Well, when I was at a recycling yard, Dr. Ralph, I was at a recycling yard, and I could not help one day, I could not help but wonder if some of the metal that we were exporting was being used to build prisons.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help thinking, like, I wonder how much of this grain is, and then later on, it's, well, yeah, I guess I'm running out of time.
Yeah, Sanya, welcome. Jacob, welcome. So we were talking about, how are you, Sanya?
Great.
Okay. Yeah, Yusuf came up on the wisdom. He's a calligrapher, and he was talking about occupational therapy, and here he was in the hospital and how it is helping him. Occupational therapy, they make you do stuff and give you goals that you can do and all that, right? And that's a good way of keeping the patients towards the goal of recovery and what they need to do, and then learn skills and all that. So that's why the health principle, right? Move the body and keep the mind quiet. And also, he was saying about you need a lot of time to pay attention to all these things, the reflections, everything that I'm talking about. But I said, no, whatever you're doing has complete awareness in that, or attention into that. Yeah. Jacob, how are you?
I'm really good. I was just searching for you on Instagram because I thought you were doing your session there, but then I just logged into my wisdom. And but it's great to be here on Clubhouse with you.
Instagram, I'm not starting it. I think it's a Restream doesn't do the Instagram, I think, so I have to look into that. I used to use a different thing, but then a lot of people came up on Instagram, wanted to talk to me, but then that did not work out very well. Maybe I should do it again. Yeah. I'm only on Wisdom, Clubhouse main, and then I'm also on the YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. That's what is going on. Something happened with my Facebook groups, and then I have to fix that too. So, I get caught up with all these messages, all these, talks that are going on. So I was telling Yusuf, I was busy all day today, but as I told you guys, I don't, deplete my energy. All my activities feed me back, and then I'll be really energetic at the end of the day also. Sanya knows about it, how I kind of told her about it lots of times.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very inspiring behavioral framework to operate under.
Yeah.
one thing that was resonating with me in the past couple of days, which I mentioned in a conversation earlier today, was it's not just about what you do, it's how you do it.
Exactly.
What type of energy are you bringing toward the activity? And this is a quote that I got from you, and I was asking my friend Arif, because he said, I just woke up. Now, today, when I woke up, my friend called me right away. And from bed, he said, hey, let's do a math lesson. And we went over the fundamentals of mathematics because we've been learning psychology, philosophy, and linguistics for the past couple of years. And we decided that we need to relearn mathematics, and especially the foundational concept. This is what's used in science and logic and proof. Because it's the most precise language of communication that we have. And so I asked my friend Arif, I said, well, this is what I did this morning. What kind of energy are you bringing toward your morning? When you go to sleep at night, what kind of energy are you bringing to your bed when you sleep? And everyone is heightened during birth. But are we really aware of every single individual behavior that we're choosing to engage in and the type of energy and viewpoint that we're operating from in those moments that we usually choose not to be aware of? I thought that was very interesting.
Basically, you are saying, I'm going to live every moment by being aware. That's good. That is what I'm saying. Be present. Learn about all this ancient stuff, everything. But I didn't mean to say that you got to go and live there. No way. I'm going to be here and now in the present with complete awareness of the movement, what is going on, what's in front of us. Before you guys came, I talked about something about perception versus thinking. Most of the time what we have developed was we kind of think about something. For example, you are talking about mathematics, Jacob. Mathematics is about highest order of mind. You see, you take one thing and then add it up, and then you say 2 + 2 is 4. Like that, there is an inherent order in mathematics. That's why whatever we do with the mathematics is leading to patterns and models that are orderly. So it may have complicated mathematics, but fundamentally it is the order. See, and that it traces to what's called the purna, that is complete fullness. That is the zero. It's like a round, full, completely, right? And that was invented by the Indian. I think I don't remember his name, but he is a Bhargava, something like that. He is kind of Aryabhatta. That was the person who invented this zero. And from there, mathematics evolved. And if you take Indian spirituality, they were very high on mathematics, and then Indian minds are very tuned to the computer age because of the background of mathematics. Even though I was a physician, I went into biology science. I was good in mathematics when I was in high school, right? Our scores were 100 out of how much you got. I used to get 100 out of 100 in mathematics. That interesting was, and I was really focused on that. Another thing is this mathematics is directly into the computer age, and that's why these programmers and all of they have to stay with programming continuously, right? Several years, and they have to even now the ones who programmed before, they love to program again. They enjoy the process. But of course, this chat GPT, everything gives us opportunity to the programming, or without programming, we are doing a lot of stuff. But then there are ways so you can go back to program and do that too. All in all, what you said about mathematics, it is order. When you do mathematics and completely involved, you may want to solve a problem and you want to go about it, but then you get lost and then you take a break. The solution comes to you somewhere. And that is where that chitta, that intelligence I'm talking about, and that will be operational in perception of anything. In thinking, you are banking on the data of the past or the projection of the future, and then you may not be dealing actually with what is it. But in perception, you are not sensory, you are not imaginary or intellectual, but you are seeing as it is, anything. Yeah, makes sense. The perception is very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
The number 0. Now, the word fullness. Now, see, and I think many people might associate the number 0 with emptiness.
Yeah.
But an interesting thing that I learned today is in Canada, I learned the concept of bed math, brackets, exponentials, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. In America, they learn PEM bass or something like that, which is parentheses, exponential multiplications. Now, the interesting thing is we always start with parentheses as an order of operation, but that's not even an operation. That's a grouping, which is very interesting.
This emptiness you were telling about, that is Buddhism also talked about shunyata. Shunyata means really nothing there, empty. But then, if you really look at it, is that emptiness is the solar plexus, solar, all the every planet, everything is hanging around in the space, and all the galaxies and everything else. Is that just emptiness, or it has the ether that's not perceptive for us, but then we kind of describe. But actually, if you look at it, are we in emptiness? Are we in the space that's not emptiness, but then we give a color of emptiness to it? It has all these things in it, right? All our planets going on like that. In Buddhism, in Buddhism,
the color of emptiness.
Yeah, look at this emptiness they talked about. You should not assume like there is nothing. But what it is there is no thing. So what we want the material to appear as a physical thing, to appear as the thing, that's not it. But that is something, but that is beyond what we consider as thing. That's why we say it's all emptiness, it's all sunyata and all. But sunyata is like the same thing is purna. So somebody described as fullness, that emptiness, and other people looked at it as though there is nothing. But that what it means is no thing. So that means it is devoid of the thing, but it is full with spiritual energy and all that.
Mm-hmm. And another interesting thing about categorizations like brackets or parentheses is there's really only 10 digits. There's 0 to 9.
Yes.
Everything else is a combination.
Yeah, that's exactly. There's a spiritual significance to this. Suppose you have 1 0, right? You put another 0, and you say shunyata and emptiness and all that. And do another 0, you do another 0, 4 0 or 3 zeros, it has no value in that sense. But if you put 1 in front of those zeros, the whole thing becomes, loaded with whatever we want to express it, okay, the figure. So that's why if you understand that spiritual energy, some may call it God and some may call it as created and all that, leave that alone. But if you have that, like a human body, for example, I always come to that as a physician. The light that goes out when they die is really can be perceived, because the face that was there a couple of minutes ago, he dies, and to the face that just died person, you can see the absence of spark. That liveliness is gone, right? And that is the one that you want to hang on to, and then appreciate that, because people don't appreciate life when it is there, because they are always in their mind or in something, right? But not with what is here in front of you, the glorious nature, the glorious animals, the plants, everything is there. We lost touch with them because we lost in our thought.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
And the same thing for like a dead plant or a dead tree.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard. It loses
yeah.
its color. It changes. You can tell that it's lifeless.
Yeah. You see, another thing is we have these organ donors, right? So some patients come to us with after the organ transplanted, and then anything happens to that organ, we need to call the transplantation specialist, right? And because they protect those organs like anything, because it's very rare to get those kidneys and all that. At least to this day, maybe it will change down the line because we are having even the concept of 3D printing of organs down the line. But then, what is significant there is the patient dies, the light goes, but there is still lingering life in the organs that we can take out and use it with somebody else. See, that's also fascinating to me because the Indian culture had this celebration of so many days after you die, because they still believe 11 days after that you have some kind of some kind of live organs within you. Not the life with brain and all those things, they're gone. But then this liver, kidneys, heart, all those things can have that spot. That was their uh, their, I don't know how they found out that was their writings, right? But then when you look at modern medicine, what do we do after the patient dies? We give cornea, we give so many organs, we sign out in the driver's license that after me you can do it on, so that that life of me can continue in somebody else. That's fascinating, right, Jacob?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It also makes me think of like when people talk about human rights.
Yeah.
Okay. And I remember George Carlin, the comedian.
Yeah, foul-mouthed one. Yeah, he's the foul-mouthed one.
Right? He said, we either have all the rights or no rights. For example,
exactly.
I could do anything I want, but if you don't like it, you have the ability to kill me. Yeah. So it's either we have all rights or no rights. Now, one interesting thing in regards to mathematics and the color of life type of thing is I've been thinking about the difference between nouns and verbs, because I've been talking to my neuroscientist friend. Yeah. And he has a passion for studying ancient scripts, etymology, the root base words of where conceptions come from, and using metaphorical recursion to take our current semantics and trace it back to what is this person actually saying, and why are they invoking this particular metaphor. Yeah. And if we think about human rights, for example, it's like without the right, there are no other rights. If our life is taken, then all of our verbs stop. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's very fascinating. Yeah, actually, this morning I was listening to a talk on AI and medicine, right? His name is also something like your name, Jacob, but then Echo, something like that, he said very fascinating. He said there are no values in United States. They pretend as though they have them. These human rights, they say, but then they really do everything to take away women's rights. They take away rights of the human beings coming into the country, and so many things, right? Even the people who are here, for example, the whole our medical field is dominated by all the administrators, all the insurance, all the pharma, and all that. They're really playing with our health, right? So he said a statistic that is true is for every 5 administrators, there is one healthcare provider. So that's why they are busy stashing away the money that they generate with this so many things, right? Like they were saying, they're conspiring with the pharma and really keep patients on unnecessary medications or elevate the medications and all that, right?
So, for example, cholesterol medications, that's a absolute waste, because when they did the studies, apparently what they did was they eliminated the patients who are having side effects. They only took the patients that were not having side effects and presented the data. That's like making you appear like all these people who took the medications have no side effects, but they never include the people who had side effects. That kind of treachery, that kind of cheating goes on, right? So there's, as a whole, that is there. Instead of maintaining your health and protecting it, and then using medications when you become sick, it has become like everything is maintained by the medications. That's why all the people in the nursing home, they don't have a spark, they don't have life in that thing, they don't have vital thing, they don't have meaning or purpose, or they don't have any relationship, they just exist there. And then these people go on pouring medications in them, versus, yeah, we tried what's called garden of Eden experience, like some nursing home where they can have a common kitchen, they can go and sit there and have conversations, and then they can do some work in the garden, things like that. Versus they're a hospital sitting like in nursing home, they are in the room and they brought out, given medications, and then maybe some physical therapy, some visitation by the family, and then they get bored with the same routine every day. They lose interest after a while in that life, and they become very vegetables, basically. You know, so this is a human rights is something. If you understand, the life itself has its own way to be protected, to be well, and all that. What you are saying makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I mean, it reminds me of what you said yesterday or the day before. How about instead of just illness treatment centers, we have wellness kind of centers that support our actual day-to-day life before we get ill.
Yeah, that's where I was
very powerful concept.
Yeah, that's where I was fascinated, because if you look at the people that I worked with, the yogis or whatever, the natural health people and all that, they were really having vitality. They have energy, they have spark in their word or whatever they're doing. And then they don't have this diplomatic talk, and they are very loving to. Versus when I come here, everybody is about some attribute, like they have so much knowledge, so many degrees, or so many scientific papers, but in their own life, they don't have that spark. That's what I saw, and they are addicted to some things, or addicted either substances, or this, the pride, or some kind of psychological things they can consider as a big deal, egoism, all those things, right? But then if you really take how they interact with other people, how their relationships are, what kind of energy they are bringing to anything, that is kind of missing. And also, as they've been into 40s, 50s, 60s, it is going down much more. We spend so much money on these chronic diseases, which we have to, because we have to spend all these medications and everything. That kind of philosophy is really not good for us, money wise, or vital energy, or your life itself. So everything is like a transaction, everything is like a mechanical. So that's why chronic diseases are not having good outcomes. Versus if you go to the reason why you became, for example, diabetic, then you can say, okay, you have genes, but they are expressed because you have been eating wrongly, and then stimulated a lot of insulin, so you have burnt out that way pancreas. But then you also don't do any exercise or lifting weights or anything like that, and that's why you develop insulin resistance. Find that out, and then put them on dumbbell workout, and they could get a lot of insulin resistance go down. Then the little insulin that you take will work wonders with them. So it's like going into the roots of, if you can help it. There are a lot of genetic expression, a lot of toxin, and we may not be able to do damage is done. But then, if the lifestyles are the cause of your chronic illnesses, common sense is control those lifestyles. That is the intelligent thing to do, right? But you see how many people, how many doctors, they are neglecting that self-care and getting into trouble. The people that I talk to burn out. Most of them are not taking care of themselves. They're telling somebody else. But when they see me, oh, you're 68, you don't have any medications, you have so much energy, you're doing all these things and all that. They're amazed that I'm writing so many books and so many articles, so many videos and all that. They say, how is this like a queer person? That's why he's kind of doing. It's not. It is the work is worship. That means the agency is not there. It's not me doing it. It's the divinity making me do it. That's the energy that comes from. Other thing is, I don't want to worry about the results of the work. I want to focus on the process. Everything is here like how much money I will get, how much money I'll make. And even the spiritual things I talk about, people take it and then do that business. I've seen so many people doing breathing classes, or they have told me I produce a lot of. One of the neuroscientists is on the clubhouse. I don't want to name it, and that person said, "Oh, Dr. Rao gives away so much that is worth thousands of dollars." That is the mindset you have to change, and you have to collectively increase awareness about being well is smart. Being well is we are not going to spend the money. Spend that money to education, research, and all that. I will appreciate that. But just as a doctor, making money on somebody else's illness, that is consciously not agreeable to me. What do you say, Jacob?
I say hell yeah. Yeah, there's some doctors that I like here. There's some doctors that I can tell that they're operating from a greed, egotistical, selfish perspective.
Yeah.
And using metaphorical recursion, we can tell. Yeah. And the gene expression thing, it reminds me of, it's like statistics versus probability.
Yeah.
Where probability is trying to predict something for the future, and a statistic is kind of just the percentage representation. I forget exactly how to say it, but it's like in gene expression. Yeah. Sometimes they're like, oh, you have a 10% chance of this. You have a 30% chance of this. But that's just not, it's not a deterministic number. If we decide to do certain things, we can actively change that.
And that is the epic.
Staying focused on the process. It's like, instead of the result, let's say that it does happen. Yeah. Let's say that it's 1%, less than 1%, but it still happens.
Yeah.
Then I will, focus on the process after it's confirmed to be a reality. But until then, all I could do is mitigate the risk.
I know even the Jacob now is the epigenetics is there. So much genetic work is going on now. We know the epigenetics are on the surface of the genome and all that, right? Those can be influenced by our lifestyles, so you don't have to necessarily manifest the disease, because once you understand that, once you do that, that's why lifestyle change medicine is a big deal now, because we can change that epigenetics with our lifestyles. That's why I said therapeutic lifestyles. I ran a number of like this. I'm running every day. Number of months I ran that therapeutic lifestyles. Where I was saying this is a lifestyle prescription I'm giving. Eat right, or exercise, sleep well, or think smartly. Don't waste yourself in, unnecessary thinking and all that. And a lot of people listen, but how many people really follow? I don't know, because they asked me, like somebody is obese, they ask me about that. Somebody is kind of having allergies from the foods, ask me about that. But then, in terms of how can I really be intelligent and aware of what I'm doing with my body, with my mind, with my heart, and all that. That's where I think people have to be self-conscious about it. Conscious in the sense, not in the sense of, self-dubious thing. No, it's like being more aware of what's going on. What is a habit that we have formed? How can I reverse those habits? But that you need a lot of support, a lot of like a peer help also has to be there, because you go to a party, even in the hospital, I go to executive committee, all these guys are department chairman or something like that. When I go there, I see all these donuts and bagels and all that. When I take them, I say it's all carbohydrate. Come on, let's come fruits in here. So whenever I see, they say, "Oh, Doctor Kulsu," they say, "Doctor Kulsu needs his grass, so bring in some vegetables, bring in some fruits." And that's not really complimentary to tell somebody who is healthy eating, you know. So it's a kind of become unconscious habits about these destructive things of lifestyles for us, like a beer, smoking, or this fast foods, or the sedentary watching sports. You participate in the sport, that's good, but you are watching it as a spectator, and then this is about in front of the TV. You sit exactly opposite. You are keeping the body, inactive, and your mind is active. Do the opposite. Keep the body active and keep the mind low. So all these are lifestyles, and then we can really awake to that, and then say, actually, the money that we spend, Jacob, in the United States is enormous, enormous money, and then we don't have the good outcomes. You see, that's the tragedy. But if you spend the money and you have good outcomes, I would understand. But there's not, because the money is going to the administrators, to the insurance companies, to the pharmacists. The pie that these doctors and other healthcare workers get is really very small. Is going down. It's all being taken by the bureaucracy, taken by the drug industry, taken by the insurance, and people are not aware of it. So one of the things I took very big pride in with my patients was how can I tell them how to navigate the system in an intelligent way, in an understand. That's why I used to discuss all these things. So that's why they were able to take these therapeutic lifestyles and then get back. It's like they don't have to wait for the next visit to send it to me. We used to have faxes in the beginning, and then we have this faxes or email and all that. So I used to tell them, just send us all the data of the together. Okay, blood pressure person. Take it twice a day and send them to me in a week. You don't need another appointment for that. But then, because I know the person, how his blood pressure is, I want the monitor. And then later on, once we got the EMR, we put it such a way that they measure all the blood pressures, and then they come into our computer, and then we can evaluate. Because this long EMR there, right? So whatever they do on the report in the phone, they come to us. Then I can say, okay, I put like a parameters. This should be the highest. This should be the less for him. If he falls away from that, immediately an alert comes to the nurse, and the nurse looks at and calls him and finds out. So that kind of continuous, not episodic care like we have now is not good. You got to follow it. You got to be understandable. You got to understand what is going on with your body. What are things you want to watch out for, when you will be dangerous. They want you to call 911 when you are really dying, But I want them call to monitor their health by themselves and understand why they are doing it and understand what are the problems. Now we have devices that can warn them. I welcome artificial intelligence based devices, because the patients can monitor their health much better. So I do follow all those devices and all. I myself want to do an app which will help them. That app should be available to everybody, if at all, which is a fractional cost, where they can evaluate their own comprehensive parameters. Okay, and then they can really understand what is happening. So I go to the side of roots of disease, and then understanding that, then you can understand what happened in your life that is leading to that, and then you can make intelligent changes. And then down the line, you will see, one of the things about yoga is about keeping that kind of monitoring by yourself. It's called swa adhyaya. You study your own self in so many ways. And then, so I'm aware of what is happening with me. So immediately I take action, and then nip it in the bud. That is what the yogis do. And also, they know molecular biology level what is important for us to do. Okay, so that's why they spend very little energy about unnecessary things. The virtue is keeping mauna. Mauna means silence, not just keeping your mouth shut. That's okay, but then it is inner the brain. Do you have a lot of chat going on? Do you need it? Do you not? So that's why you maintain what's called dhyana. Dhyana is so if I'm not doing anything, I go into that dhyana. That means I don't plan or do all those things unnecessarily. And when it's done, that will be there in the calendar. Leave it alone. But then when I'm with myself, I don't have any work or anything like that. I very happily go into what's called dhyana. That means you focus on one object till that object becomes you. There is no observer observed, but the observed becomes the observer. And then you are completely unionized. Then that is a very tremendous energy release. I can only tell you that, but I cannot really give it a complete description. But the feel of it, I can tell. It's a very enormously empowering thing. And if you can get to that kind of silence within you, few moments in the morning, few minutes in the evening, you will touch that, tease that energy, and then you will be hooked by it by yourself. You don't nobody need to. That's a called samadhi. Not everybody can go into that. When we talk about Patanjali Yoga Sutras, I will tell you more about it.
Yeah, awesome. I would love to see. I would love to hear. I remember I was having a conversation with my friend this week, and I was hanging out with my friend Anu, and one of the things he likes to say is we should do a brain scan. We should always do a brain scan. Now, this lady I was speaking to, she said that she did a brain scan one time and she had very adverse effects. And then she mentioned to me that there's a website that we can check where doctors are accepting money from, because sometimes they partner with a pharmaceutical company, and then they become agents of that company, and they're required to prescribe that company's medicine, which doesn't seem to me to be operating from a place of growth and education and I don't know, humanity. It's like it's like the joke. The first lesson of medical school is a patient cured is a patient lost. So a big thought in the medical community is let's just keep them just healthy enough, but just sick enough that they keep coming back every day, type of thing.
Yeah, I heard this from one of the gastroenterologists in town. We have this guy does like a 25 procedures a day, and then he charges enormously, right? So he was kind of always trying to mint the money from and he used to compare, oh, there is a Mercedes Benz that goes, if he sees a patient, because he had done so many times the scans and all. Yeah. Other thing was the pharmaceutical companies send these drug representatives because the data is out, but they have to push to the market. So they come and they bribe the doctors with the trips, with the rewards and all that. But later on, the government changed that, and then they were not supposed to accept anything, and they are not supposed to do anything. That was a good thing. But for decades, but even now, what happens is they select some doctors and then give them a lot of rewards, and then make them come and present lots of studies and all that, which is a lot of them.
Fauci, Anthony Fauci,
yeah. There are so many people push that, so that system itself is corrupt in that. What I'm saying is, okay, you cannot change the system and it's too big and or anything like that. What about your personal health? Why don't you apply comprehensive self-care and be more knowledgeable about the health of your family, your children, and take them on a different way. That's my mission. How can I promote wellness-oriented health system from house to house, from community to community, and then take it much larger in the health system. That's why when I present all this, I want to be a chief wellness officer in a health system where I can start these wellness oases, I call them, where people can come, they can get treatment and everything, but they also learn about their own illness or general, all those things in that wellness oasis run by me. But then chief wellness officer is also wellness for the healthcare workers. That is my job too there. So I want to be that. But then they're so far behind what I'm talking about. They want to, what is the revenue base for this? How can you make more money? No. So as long as all the patients support this revenue-based system, they are the victims. That's why more people have to be enlightened about this, and then they come back and say, this is what. There's another thing, you talked about brain scan, right? There is a natural brain scan that you can do, which is called Raja Yoga. That is the king of yogas, where you turn your own mind on itself and study it. Like you scan it, like. That means you are in awareness and you study all your thoughts, emotions, and everything. Not saying, oh, this is my thought, that's why it's great. No, whatever that comes, you study, standing up for. That is you got to be really the witness of what is happening within you. Not being like your introversion, not that. It's like aware of what is happening with you. See, once that mode comes, that becomes very, you can have, like for example, there is a lake, right? And then the surface is very tranquil. And you are sitting on the bank of the lake. And then you throw a stone into the lake. And then you see all the ripples going on. Then you see, I'm not going to throw anything. I want to see a clear surface of the lake. And you are watching. Wind stopped. There's no wind. And there are nobody throwing the rocks, and the whole surface looks very, clear, and no waves at all. And then suddenly you see the waves coming. Where did they come from? Because there are rocks underneath the lake that are having some fish or something moving and disturbs that, and that wave comes from it. Like that, in our mind, there's some skaras, that is thoughts deep into the subconscious mind come up, and they say they come up on their own, like memories or projections or whatever. So you got to study them. Where did this thought come from? What was the memory of that? That kind of study is that Raja Yoga, turning the mind on itself.
That is freaking amazing. I call that source data, conceptual source data.
Yeah.
Now, I remember yesterday or a couple of days ago, you said we will first start to notice it with the body, then our emotions, and then our thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, when I was trying to replicate a human brain in a written algorithm, I observed this same pattern of this, like the awareness space gives us some sort of signal or data, and then it's processed as a thought, it's processed then as an emotion, and then we embody the thing, and then it works itself backwards to a different field of awareness for another person, or perhaps back into ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, I remember I quit drinking recently, but I remember when I was doing this exercise for the past few years, it's like the more I'm able to identify my thought and question, where is this thought coming from? Or like, let's say a desire. I'm smoking, I still smoke tobacco, for example. And it's something that I do need to explore more if I want to evolve into a different form of behavior.
Yeah.
But even when I was angry And I was like, why am I angry? Maybe it's from a selfish perspective. Maybe it's from a historical hurt or trauma perspective. And it was a combination of all of these. And everybody has their own particular recipe for their emotive cognitive system, which they display behaviorally, they display semantically. And all we have to do is...
what I did with the smokers, Jacob?
Raja Yoga to identify the source data.
Yeah. What I did with the smokers, I think that is one of the things I'm very proud of, because I made so many smokers quit on their own. Okay, because I didn't force anything on them, but they knew that I work with smokers, and then they are able to quit. The word of mouth spreads, right? So people used to come. And also, I never lost the chances of showing them what smoking is doing to them. If they come for me, so bronchitis and pneumonia, those things usually come, right? They come with the difficulty breathing and all that. So
point mutation in our p53 proteins until it's over 50%, and then that's the official start of cancer.
Yeah, it's not only cancer, but there's difficulty breathing, cough, and all those things, and also the pneumonias happen more often.
Pulmonary obstruction, the whole system.
Yeah, but what it is they don't know that the lungs are compensating by hyperinflating, and the domes going up, and the more area in the lungs is getting damaged, right? I show the X-rays. They may come for the bronchitis and pneumonia. When the X-rays are taken, I show them X-rays and the changes, and they are surprised to see how that is there. And then they're slowly motivated like that. But then the main thing I want to say about that is I made them aware of each cigarette they're taking out of the pocket, and then opening the pack and pulling out one cigarette and keeping it in the mouth and then lighting it. All those steps I wanted them to be aware. So usually, if you are not aware, you just pick it up and look it and then smoke it, and then you get involved in that feeling. But when you do these things deliberately, then at some point you feel like, why I'm doing this? And then you throw it away. And the thing is to make them do by themselves so many times. That's the part. So there was a system that we learned from a Texas physician who dedicated his life to stop smoking. He built up a big museum in Texas too, and he went to tobacco companies in 50s and 60s, and then made lots of derogatory comments about them. So he was thrown out of those meetings several times. 50s and 60s, when doctors also thought that smoking is cool, right? But he was against that. So he was really driven out that way. He gave us a program. It's called PBR. Postpone your impulse. Whenever you get it, you want to smoke something, postpone it for 5 minutes. The next letter is B. Then sit down and do the deep breathing with awareness, And then at the end of 5 minutes, kind of reconsider. That is the R, PBR, right? The reconsider, am I still having that kind of drive for me to smoke, or the deep breathing took away all the tension, I'm okay? And if they feel still have that urge, you go ahead and smoke. But in a day, you do the same procedure every time you smoke. Like 10 cigarettes, you are doing it, and then you are able to stop 2 or 3. That's good enough for the first 2 weeks or so. But then if you can do more, that's fine. But the other result is, because you are alone, you are exercising like this, and you are able to stop that smoking, your self-confidence grows up in yourself. So that was the main effect, right? That's why awareness, following each step on everything, breaks that habit.
I'm trying to post it in the chat, but Clubhouse didn't let me, and now it let me. PBR, postpone, deep breathing, reconsideration.
Yeah. Like I said, I was very happy because these people who stopped smoking, and they had less of bronchitis, less of pneumonias, less of difficulty breathing problems and all that. So that is a service that is like a real help, so that we are not returning to symptoms, we are not mechanically waiting for them to develop this cancer or COPD and then prolong the suffering. So by doing those root causes, being aware of them and then educating the patient, I think that's a real uh, job of the healthcare worker. Apart from, we have to use our professional knowledge, keep our knowledge up to date and all that. See, what my specialty is, I went into other health systems and learned from them what they were doing for wellness, for health. So that's why myself, I'm healthy like that. I don't use any medications. I have not seen anybody other than me as a doctor since 2014 or so, I think. So everybody thinks I'm weird or queer or something, but it's not so. It is came out of years of understanding health systems around the world and trying to help people to awake to the fact that they can do a lot for themselves by themselves. So it will take its own effect. It will take its own good thing, good, bad, right? So everything has its consequence. If you do the good thing without expecting any results will take care of themselves.
I feel like I have a lot to learn and a lot to do.
Yeah. Sanya must have gone and had dinner and come back. Hey, Sanya. You have any questions, Sanya? I think you were silent today.
Yeah, like as I was doing, I'm doing the meditation a little longer, Dr. Welch. So it's not so much as meditation, it's just like just close your eyes and just like
See,
what you said about the dynamic.
First understand this, Zania. What do you mean by meditation? But for yourself, tell me in your own words.
Well, for me, like just that time, just with all that's going on in our lives, right? Just that time.
Okay, so
just like not thinking about anything at that time, or just not like focus so much on the thoughts.
Yeah.
But that's like the time that we assign like for meditation. Like from my doing classes with you, of course we do meditation a little differently, right? But I think
and observe this from the class itself. Observe this, and you can really understand this better now. Okay, as the things have happened, right? What was the lesson there? And there was, come on, be in the present here and now. Focus on whatever you are doing. The tensions in your body, the thoughts coming up, whatever they're coming in, be away from that and then focus on what you are doing and how you are breathing and what is the energy moving around, that kind of thing, right? And in the process, you have back pain, neck pain, or shoulder pain, or there's some comfort. Some people, and they take deep breath, they become anxious, versus the people who really become anxious, take a deep breath, they go down. But it can happen otherwise because they are not used to system. What you do is, after you step out of the class, just check yourself. Are you in the same present mode throughout whatever you are doing? That itself, you are in that awareness, which is meditative. Then you don't have to do this allowing the thought to go all around and then calming it down. You are using the thought in awareness. Otherwise, you are fell out of awareness, then you will go into the thought mode and it will take its own thing. And then you'll have not only the things that you're doing, the thoughts are there, but you allow yourself to be influenced by extraneous thoughts. That is what people are doing because unless an emergency, unless it's a dangerous or something like that, they are not completely with what they are doing. They're casually doing it, and they don't see whether they are completely attentive or not. They listen to things, they check the phone, they see the social media notifications, and all that. That is kind of even I told the wisdom also several times. You guys are putting all sorts of things to somebody asks some question, somebody asks, and then these people are evaluating as well. That's a good thing. You are providing your own distractions. So all you have to do is whatever I am doing, like I'm talking to you guys, right? I have no distractions. Even if they come, my focus is on what I'm talking with Jacob or you or whatever. And I pay full attention to that, complete energy. So that kind of inflow in awareness, but using the thought as a faculty, that is the one you want to learn. Then meditation as an episodic habit don't have to be done, because I told you several times, I don't meditate because I don't need to, because I'm always in the meditative awareness.
I think what I wanted to do is that, if I sit alone, like for an hour, let's say, I want to see if I have, what kind of thoughts are going through me, right?
Yeah,
and
that's fine. That's the beginning. That's no problem. Do that. But then thing is that when you are alone yourself, that's the first thing you want to do. But then how soon you bring it to the life? That is the one. You see, that's why projection of mind, controlling it is what you are trying to do. But understanding there is no mind, only thoughts, and then those thoughts can be slowed and get to one thought and go beyond. That is very, very empowering, and that's very, very in charge of yourself, and then not allowing yourself to be influenced by thought. That is the problem with the modern societies everywhere, is they kind of let the um, the thoughts lead the way. Thoughts take them wherever they, so they don't have the control of it. And then they're also not able to think appropriately because jumbled, right? You are thinking one thing this time, and the next time, and so with the multitasking and all that, they are going to be much worse as we go into more data generation, more things out. But it is not going to be tranquil within your mind. And that's what I'm saying. Blissful means, what I mean is, first of all, it is peaceful. I'm not in argument with anybody, and also I kind of have that harmony and tranquility. So when you have that, it's a pleasure to talk to you guys, right? And then a pleasure to exchange what we learned and all that. So, but the subjective state of mind, how it is, don't escape from it. Just focus on that and calm down. And also, don't go out and then tell anybody about anything. First, learn yourself and see how my state of mind is. Once you are there, then it automatically comes out to help people when they have their thing. But it's not like something that you just learn and implement. You have to experience this. See what I said? Not something learned as information and then implement. Don't do that. Experience, like you said, when you're alone, you want to be with the thought. That's why I said, when I'm alone, I'm in dhyana. Okay?
Yeah.
Not I'm in meditation. That dhyana means really being with one thought, completely focused with that object or thought, and then going beyond the thought, and then staying in that. That's where it is.
Yeah. And that's the practice that we had in the morning, right?
Yeah.
At the end of our thing. Yeah. This is what I'm trying to see without, without, I wanted to go deeper. That's what I was trying to do, Dr. Ralph.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, first to do it with yourself, and then let it come out. Okay, don't set out teaching other people, because unless subjective state is there, you will get caught up in their own mind, and then they will take you their way too. They don't mean it. They don't mean it. Now, but yeah.
I now that you said that, because I was trying to understand what's the difference between the guided meditation and all of these things, right?
Those are all. Those are all.
We do in the morning, right?
Yeah, that's like an episodic thing, and then you are okay as far as you are with that guided meditation or whatever. It may calm down. It's like a vacuum, right? It goes down, and then it comes up. The moment you walk out of the class, it will come out, and then you say, "Oh, I have to think about this. I have to do this," and then you go into the mode of thinking and doing, but you don't go into the awareness and then using the thought. That means thought is not allowed to go wherever it wants to go. Not is a control. It's a kind of awareness. Because control, it means there's a controller and you want to control the thoughts. That is counterproductive. But you allow the awareness to watch everything and watch. Remember what I used to say every day morning? Observe the thoughts, watch the thoughts like they are clouds in the sky moving. And you do the same thing through the day.
So we don't need a meditation app?
No, actually they are counterproductive. That means what? You are relying on, it could be app, it could be a teacher, it could be me, somebody outside telling you and you are doing it. But you have not cultivated your own inner awareness. They may help you in the beginning, fine. But afterwards, you want to come to the stage where you don't need anything else outside. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I understand now.
You see, you are
this
somebody.
Is what I'm trying to do, right?
No. What you do is you are somebody who wants to be friendly with everybody. But in that friendliness, you allow other people thinking, influencing.
Yeah, okay.
Don't have to do that. You can do your own practice and then also relate to it. Like I am relating with you guys, right? I don't depend on anybody for my mind being quiet and harmonious and peaceful. I don't have to. Anybody else have to do that. That's the way these gurus and all these people who say that I'm going to show you the way are totally doing wrong thing in the other way. Krishnamurti said this: the people who set out to help other people are a curse. Then everybody was surprised. But what is that you are doing? But I don't do it by intention. What it is suppose a woman is there. Do you want to empower her, or do you want to take care of her through the day, through the years, through the life? You want to teach her empowerment from within, and then leave her alone. She has the liberty to do it or not do it, whatever. But this thing about you go and then saying that, oh, I'm the one who is going to show everybody way. I'm going to say that's kind of counterproductive, I think. But if I leave you like Sanya, you can be empowered by yourself, and you get like the smokers I did. They were able to do on their own. Even if they leave once, that's a big deal for him, right? In a day, to be away from one cigarette and be normal for a while, and then after that becomes habit, and he gets hang of it, and if he really wants to stop smoking, he will do that. But usually what happens is the smoking becomes a crutch for some thing going on in their life, psychologically or emotionally or society. So many are just simple habit and all those. Then this habit becomes physiological and psychological tolerance first, and then addiction. So I break the cycle of addiction like this. I will tell you a principle of yoga. It's called pratyahara. That means the impulse comes to you from within your mind, like I want to smoke, right? And then you kind of nullify it by just not allowing it to dominate you, by just being aware of yourself, and then let that come as a cloud in the sky, stay and go. And once that is gone, it's gone, and then you are able to do that gives you the psychological strength. So episodic meditation, mindfulness practices, all these things are kind of a temporary measure, like a whack-a-mole. Okay, something flares up, just do it, and then go and it comes up again. Then you're caught in the cycle all the time, right? You will find all this in my meditative awareness book. I already wrote it, but so many things are happening every day. So I'm not able to design and art and all that. So editing also done, so you do that. Today I was writing about what are existential things. See, I go with my energy, what comes to me, right? I don't go by the marketing techniques or selling or any of that, So my energy pointed out, I should really put it down, what I understood, what is the research or what is the work that ancient did on these existential issues. First of all, do you know what is existential issue mean?
Yeah, the things that are essential to existence, right? So it doesn't require.
Tell me one existential issue that you know of.
Just life.
Yeah, no.
Life.
Yeah, that's true. What is life?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything is us, right?
Yeah, but
do we need like for life to happen, existence, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, what is life? What is death?
That life force within us, no?
Yeah. No, I'm trying to naming those existential issues. Everybody has them, right? Yeah. What is life? What is death? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What is consciousness? What is free will? Like this. There are so many series of questions out there. I tabulated them first, then I kind of elaborated on that. And what are systems in ancient, not just India or China or everything, but in Egypt, in ancient Rome. So many issues have come up, and then Socrates, for example, that was one of my favorites anyway, because he always starts with, I don't know anything. That's where it have to come from. And they did that, ancient did that. So I wrote about that, and there was a course I developed out of that, so I will have to work on that more. But basically what it is it's not about science, and that's all okay. I follow the genetics, I follow the microbiome, I follow a lot of neuro diagnostic things, or neuroplasticity, so many things I follow. But then in terms of life and its existential issues, I think the ancients did a fantastic job, and a lot of modern scientists, they're so blinded by their own limited mind, they cannot really absorb that. That's a disservice they are doing too. So if you really see the inert substance and everything is about body, but you don't understand what is animating the body, then you are missing. That's why the medicine is reductionist, repair, this one, but they don't understand the entire animating force that is there within all of us. See the scope we can take.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just letting things be and just like let everything comes, right?
Yeah, you got to open your mind, that's all. Then the things will flow.
Yeah, I'm not affected as much by the stuff that's out there anymore.
But your mind has to take Sanya, I know what I'm saying is your mind has to take a journey. Let it take it. I think you're on the way. So
yeah, I just want to know myself and wiping off other things, right? Because the journey is like within, it's you, right?
Definitely. But you think yourself is ego, then you limit yourself. But you go beyond it, then exactly. What it is it doesn't matter how much you know outward stuff, but it is how much you really know about yourself. That is the room. This room is be yourself. See, look at the self. It's a big yes. That big yes you want to focus on, not on the small s, which is our ego, personality, and all. Usually people are caught in that, and that is so such a hold. That's why it doesn't allow your natural intelligence to come out. It will be limited, whatever you think with that. But once you are break out of that, then it's a very fulfilling experience of your real self. That is what happens when you have this quietness and calmness in the mind. You will really allow that self-luminous self come out by itself. Up until then, you are covered, so it is not allowed to come out.
Well, up to this point, I was using everything and everyone else to but then I, come to, as I was doing the meditation today, right, I come to realize that, the next is me, right? I have to be able to, go beyond,
yeah. That's why they said alone. Just no. Yeah, in aloneness, Sanya, be alone. And this journey is to be done by anybody alone. Not even wife and husband will be with you, but they have their own path. That's fine. But they may understand better if they have kind of intimacy and all that. But still, when the journey comes, you got to do it alone. Not even with your guru, not even with your husband, not even with the children, anything like that. Actually, that kind of attachment is a detriment to this journey. So go with it, be inward, and then be alone, not lonely, because you are the same with everybody else. And that's why it's called ekatvam. At the level of our being, we are oneness. And try to take all the things that are faced by your mind, with samatvam, equanimity. Whatever happens to your mind, you got to take it as equanimity. You can't say this is good, that is bad, this is what I like, that is I don't like. Those kind of things will drop. And then when you really relate with people, asangatvam, detachment, knowing the body-mind complex is going to perish, but what you are inside, that divine spark, is going to continue. Right? That's the nature of life. And then,
what role does emotions play into this then, Dr. Ram?
It's a part of the small s. That's why emotion, like or dislike, I said, you take the same thing. But when you are not at that level, these emotional things will lead you. Either you are happy when things are going well, and you are unhappy when things are. But then when you have this equanimity, then you see that both are the same.
Yeah. I'm starting to see what we did, at the anchor part, right?
I told you my yoga practice is layered, and then each layer is revealed to you as you approach with your growth. Otherwise, you have an opportunity to look at them and question them. You might have come there just to do the physical and then listen to some questions and all. But you did not come with what is the depth of this? How can they understand? That has to become from each student. So I don't force them, because that's not right. Because like a child is there, you don't want to force feed them, right? You want to make them get used to it slowly.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, then I think it's 1.5 hours we talked here. I think Jacob also had a lot of things he wanted to bring out. That was good. Anything else? Anybody else wants to come up and ask me any final question before we close up? And there are some people on the wisdom. Only one person came up earlier, but he was also talking something else, not this topic. I wish people talk about topics that are here. I was asking this fundamental question: do you know who you are? Do you know your real self? That is what we are trying to. I'm not going to give you solutions just like that, but I'm going to relate to you as to what kind of things you could do for this. I'm trying to invite her. Somebody wanted to come up, and I invited, but then she disappeared now. Okay. I sent the invitation, Sanya, but she kind of disappeared. Maybe
she. Something up to.
Yeah, probably.
I didn't have volume for the longest time.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things going on with the houses these days, right? Yeah. All right, Sanya, I'll see you tomorrow then. Okay?
Okay, Dr. Rao. Thank you.
Bye. Oh, somebody wants to come up. This lady.
Ita? Hi, Ita. Oh, I don't know if that's her name.
Yeah.
Okay. It is.
It is.
Awesome.
Hi, Ita.
Hi, Dr. Rao. Hi, Sonia. This is such a beautiful room. Thank you for giving so much time and energy to your space. I've been listening intently. This is actually the first time, for some reason, I have sort of been glued to everything that you've been saying, because I've come in and out of your room, but something really, really resonated with me this time round.
Yeah.
And as I was listening to you more and more, you really speak my language, because I am a huge advocate of what is the word? Just of the self in general. And because we also live in a society that promotes a lot of things that are very tribal, and it's about the collective. While I get all that, I absolutely resonate with what you're saying, because it does start with us first. And I also appreciate that you have a background in medicine, and that this, for me, is something that I feel sometimes is missing in the so-called spiritual context of things, especially when you blend it with things that have been watered down, or lack of a better word, whitewashed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, and so, I'm very left and right brain as well, and I think that you mentioned earlier how it's so important to understand how we are given this body as a vehicle, and how to integrate that. And I never really had been somebody who is a meditator, because my sort of practice with my inner self is creativity, and I believe that we all have our own sort of tendency to where we can sort of harness our focus or our passion. But what you would the way you were explaining meditation, it really made me pick my curiosity again to tap back into it, because I haven't heard somebody speak as clear and almost very grounded and very, there is no fluff around it. And you were talking about how, the thoughts should not be controlling our emotions. And what's interesting that I've observed in the wellness space, especially if you haven't truly refined yourself, as your emphasizes, is that because there are so many people who are casually throwing about regurgitating quotes and things that might sound as a solution, but you don't truly understand what it is, and so it becomes convoluted. So my point is saying that, for example, when I hear a lot of people, for example, in the, say, quantum physics or you were touching a little bit about how some scientists who are too modernized in their own thoughts. And it's, like you said, it's very almost myopic, and it's not really felt in their own embodiment. It's almost like, it's like spiritual theory without actually practicing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the experiential thing important, not uttering out some words, Even though I kind of quote things and all that, but I have to experience it before I say it,
Yes. And so, the very thing, one of the quotes that I hear a lot that people just catch, it's literally like, it's like a joke, but it's kind of pun intended. We talk about dis-ease, but we catch these things like a dis-ease, where we don't actually think about it. And one of the quote is thoughts become things.
Yeah.
So
you brought
people get obsessed with this idea of wanting material things, and so they focus on their thoughts.
Quickly, that this is, you talked about, a lot of people, when they feel that this is, they don't want to pursue that. They run away. That's the problem, right? So something universal truth, it is embedded, like I said, you don't have to meditate episodically. You can be meditative all the time. That kind of really causes dis-ease in so many people because they have been investing in this episodic meditation practice for long, and they are running classes and collecting monies and all that. All that is threatened. But then, if your pursuit is to real truth, that dis-ease is something that is like a creative constructively, and then it allows you to go to the truth much better and drop what is false up until that point. Yeah, go ahead. I just want to make that point.
Absolutely, yes. And so here's the thing, what I was experiencing when you were speaking. Because I have found in general, my mind is very fast, very quick. Not in the sense where I am somewhere else, but it's almost like I know sometimes that I think quicker than a lot of people. So, but when you were speaking earlier as well, and it's almost like paying attention and focus to the very momentary thing.
Yeah.
So when you were speaking, I was really, really listening.
Yeah.
Because sometimes this is a very, not that I wasn't listening, but I feel that is actually one of the simplest thing that we forget.
Yeah.
In communicating, for example, in wanting to have a relationship, whatever relationship that is, or at the core of it, we all want to be heard, to be understood, but we have a hard time being a listener.
Yeah.
So we are ready to just rebut or like be defensive, or we want to say what we want to say.
Let me break it down, Ita, in this context of this room. See, like you said, your thought is electric. It can go pretty fast, right? But then when you look at me or anybody else and all that, if you are allowing the thought to make a judgmental thing, even in your own mind, you don't have to say anything. Then you got to stop there. Say, what is it that is making this judgmental call about somebody? Okay? And we don't appreciate that, but then immediately you will come to know your conditioned thinking, your real lower self that is making the judgment. But the moment you observe that, then you become that observer which is apart from your thinking. And that awareness is the one that you want moment to moment. Not the accumulated our personality that evaluating other people, not our conditioned thinking that is accumulated allowing us to judge somebody else. But at that core, as awareness, we are the same. But your personality conditioning can be different. That's fine. But then don't judge on them, but go beyond that. That is what is this be yourself mean. Be that awareness, be that fullness, be that being that we are all in one consciousness, one energy. Usually,
Sorry, doctor, go ahead.
Usually the thought is so electric, it goes even before we know it, and then it forms its own network. That's the funny thing about it. That's why you have to have this distinction of, can I be free of this thought made me and be in that real me, which is my awareness.
So I have a question for you, doctor. I'm curious how you dissect this one, which can be very, again, one of those things where it can be very seen as if you're judgmental. So a lot of people like to say there is no good or bad.
Yeah.
So how do you, at the same breath, discern something, knowing that something is not incongruent or actually not in integrity? And then also, how do you populate yourself, let's say, as an activist of something that you're passionate about?
I got you. What you're saying. Remember,
without being focusing on the negative.
Yeah. Remember, Christ, when he was crucified, he said, "Forgive them, my Father, for they know not what they are doing." Right? What it other spiritual quote is Swami Vivekananda. He's a Vedanta sage, right? He said, he came to America. He spent a lot of meaningful years here, and then he talked to several people. But then everybody he met, he said, if only you know who you are. See, that liking, unliking, liking, not liking, or any of those dualities are the properties of the mind. But you are not the mind. You are that awareness energy, consciousness energy that is behind the thought. And thought and body are the awareness instruments. So you are letting go your instrument go on its own. Instead of understanding it, and then you don't have to control the thought, but you have to be in the awareness. Then the mind that's judging will cool down. Because you know what it is? You, Aita, Sanya, Devakran, whoever is here, you all have the same energy I have. We all are this being, consciousness at the same thing. We have body and mind that are different. So you let your identity with your mind, then you have all these judgments. But that's why Jesus said, they know not what they do. So that's why he is not blaming them. Okay, that is possible with yoga. Also has this samadhi where you are in that energy. That's not thought. That's not judgment or anything like that. So you can, like for example, you do not realize who you really are. How can you be responsible for the false you that is operating all that? See how much compassion will come out of that.
Yes, when you said that, I immediately hear my mom's voice, because she always reminds me or advises us, that when somebody is not acting from integrity, it's because they're not aware of it.
She's unconditional love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
That's why she has no judgment, she has no conclusions and all. Because like that, a child does something. I think many decent parents will not really pounce on him and do that, but he may let him see it and all that. But unconditional love comes where you are going to give them a chance, or you are not going to judge them. And this punitive thing, you have to be conditional love, and all these things are only looking for external things like conveniences and not getting in trouble, those things. But if you really want to engulf somebody in that unconditional love, first understand where you are conditioned.
So where does the line draw between that and codependency?
Oh, dependency is something completely not even having confidence in yourself. When you are stationed in the self I'm talking about, what is the confidence and what is the not confidence is what are the properties of the mind, not yours. The dependency comes because you don't know how to be yourself, how to go into yourself, how to be alone. And in aloneness, you discover we are all one. Then there is no loneliness. They are not cut off from the source. Basically, what I'm talking about is we all are in one source, the life, the entire life. And we stay away from the life thinking that the mind is real, our identification with the mind is real. And so we carve a small corner of self ego and then say, this is me. So what are you identified with? Are you identified with the real self under the body and mind? Or are you identified with your body? That's the body conscious. There's a chakras. The bottom three are with the body consciousness. That is where hunger, sleep, and procreation, all these things come. And also even our own job and developed egoic, we have these skills, these roles that we play as manager or whatever. And then the heart opens. That means you are accepting everything as you. That is the anahata chakra. That's the middle. And then the top three chakras are the one which really lead you to your real you. And once you are there, the mind is there as your servant, or the thoughts are there as your servant. And then you don't give it an identification, but you identify with your real energy, which is, see, actually thoughts, you are aware of thought. That means your awareness is aware of the thoughts. But you get caught up in those thoughts because they're so electric. They go so fast. But the thing is, you allow yourself to be in the thoughts only all the time. That's why when you're not doing some work and all that, just be with yourself, completely introverted, alone, and really observing, being the observer, being the watcher. And observer is then mixes with the thought that comes as observed. You don't have the observations of all that unless you have that observer. You dissolve the observer into the observed. Then you become one energy. So next time you have those thoughts, immediately ask, where is this thought coming from? Don't suppress it. This also I say in my wellness club every day. As you close your eyes, as you are really working with me, I just want you to be the witness of the thoughts that are coming in. As they come up, that is real. But then you don't want to identify with them, or you don't want to suppress them. Just observe them apart from that. That is a very difficult thing to do. That's why the daily practice and detachment. If you are, say America, they have a lot of practice, but they don't have a foggiest idea what is the detachment is. Because they are so attached to the fun, to the money, to the things, to all those things. Very childish in a way, in this realm. Okay. But then once you understand all those things, they come and go, they're fleeting. And then you taste this ananda that they call in Sanskrit as like a blissful, happy awareness. You won't go away from it. It's like this. This is a very good explanation. You have a river of water, sweet water, flowing in front of you, but then you turn your back to it, and then you have the desert, well, the sandy soil there, and you're digging hole into the sandy to find the water. The nectar is there behind you, but you are not aware of it. But you are digging. That's how you do in your thought. You entrench yourself. That's why it's so difficult to get. And it's a very powerful force. But then you got to understand and direct it to the appropriate. Say, like, I'm using thought to communicate with you, but I'm never away from the awareness of what I'm doing here. Make sense?
Yes. Also, at the same time, I found what you were speaking about perhaps a little bit contradictory in the sense where you said that, obviously there's no right or wrong because we are just in the observation. So later on, you were speaking about how, it's very American way of thinking, which you found can be childish in a way. So how is that not a judgment?
That's also judgment. But who is that making judgment?
Well, I was just referring to what you were saying.
I'm also asking you, who is that in you that is making the inquiry? Is that the thought or the awareness behind the thought? What I said, at awareness, we are all the same. But if you are going and digging in the sand, then you are using your thought because you forgot about the awareness.
No, I'm just, see, this is where I'm not saying it out of disrespect. I'm just trying to understand what you were
saying. No, I absolutely see that. No problem.
Trying to clarify.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like I know myself. I know I'm, being aware, and I'm just speaking.
Rita, you have the answer right there.
Like when you question yourself, what is the thought and what is?
Yeah,
so
that's
I'm
what
a little bit confused.
That's what I'm saying. If you say no disrespect, if I take it as a disrespect, who is that that's taking? It's my mind. But when I'm in awareness, I can see what the Christ said. They know not what they do. You are operating from the mind. That's why it becomes difficult to understand. Once you step out of it, then you will see what it is. So I don't get disrespect because...
That's not what I meant. I'm asking you so that I'm not assuming whether it's my thoughts or not. I could also ask you the same question, right?
Same thing. Yeah.
Asking.
But I'm not in the mind. I'm aware of the discussion. I'm aware of what's happening. But most of the people are doing that. They get carried away by their thoughts. And you're still in the mind, not in that energy of awareness. Once you discover that, you won't have this question. Because you are there in that nectar. And you will see your own thoughts.
Explain to me how I'm in my thought.
Because that is where you are coming from. Because your awareness will see this very clearly.
Is that judgment from you?
No, not judgment. Observation can see it. When somebody coming from their smaller self or higher self is very evident. It's not a judgment. It's a fact. So suppose you have stillness of thought, then you won't have this wondering about consciousness. You can find out yourself. Am I having this stillness of thought, or am I coming all these questions through my thought?
Well, I'm definitely not coming from my thought. I'm coming from sincerity, which this is why I don't ever assume with people. I check in.
No, assumptions, conclusions, concepts are all function of thought. Whether you assume, don't assume is also from the thought. Don't hurry it up. Just go in and find out for yourself whether you are tasting the nectar. That is your experiential. I cannot say that you are not on it. But what I can see is where it is coming from the thought.
I see what you mean now, Dr. Rao.
Yeah.
So is it so at the end of the day, it feels like it's our own discernment, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's
okay.
Once you have
if
that,
it's our own discernment.
Yeah.
And if I feel that I'm not in my thought, how come you are telling me I'm in my thought?
Because if you know the nectar, you won't have this question. You yourself know about it. You're still staying in the thought and projecting the thought questions, but you are not experiencing your own nectar, which is stillness, which is quietness. They don't project all these thoughts. Nothing disrespectful for you either. I'm just phenomenally, I'm showing that to you. I can see that very clearly. I'm not disrespectful because I'm not in that ego mode which gets hurt or anything like that. There's no chance for that. So what I recommend is just to stay with yourself, see whether you can have that stillness of mind versus electric thought. You see, your thoughts are so fast, they feed on one another, they go into network of thought. And from that, it generates its own thought. That is the general thing. But the person who really experiences stillness, they will be there. And that energy is all of us have, but we don't attend to that.
I respectfully disagree. But
yeah, you
I
can.
Appreciate your.
But who is that disagreeing? I want you to find that out. Who is that in you that is disagreeing? Not your real self, but your thought-made ego. If you get hurt by this, then you're still in that egoic mode.
No, I'm not hurt. But I respect that people have differences in thought.
Yeah, but what it is, your experience of silence is there or not is up to you. You have to find out. I have that silence that is always accompanying me, and out of that I use the instrument of thought. So I have no problem, no hurt, nothing. You can say, I don't agree, that's fine. No problem.
Well, thank you, Dr. Rao. This has been very, very insightful, and I appreciate your time.
I am glad you came up, and then you are really articulate, and then we are presenting something in the exploration of truth. So we are friends exploring things. That's how. There's nothing to take disrespect or anything. We can disagree, or we can agree to disagree. That's fine. But then you have your own journey, I have my journey. So whether you are silent within or not, it's up to you to find out.
You know what I realized today, Dr. Rao? When you said that I used to be, like, of course, like, kind of like debating or confronting, confronting, like what you just said just now to Ida. And I see it because, because of our identification with the self, right?
Yeah.
And so it can, because of that, we feel that, this is imbalance or injustice or judgments and all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're free from the identification in many ways, because I thought I knew who I was, like in terms of the Sanya, right?
One statement I will say here, Sanya and Tita, I think it will make sense to you. Gandhi, he was fighting, non-violently, he was fighting Britishers, right? But he said, Britishers are my brothers. That means at that level of consciousness, we are all equal. But what they are doing, I'm going to raise against that injustice, telling them this is not so. But in the process, I will not hate the brothers, my brothers of this one, okay? Because they are not in the righteousness. That's why I'm going to raise against them in non-violence, protest that. So what he identified, Gandhi, was he is coming from that establish himself in the higher self. That's why his lower self is not allowed to judge them, to hate them, to be angry and all. But then he knows what is right, what is not right. And then many people are suffering because of the atrocities that the British were doing. And that's why you leave us alone, we live our own life. And then you can go into a country and you don't have any authority over us, because psychologically we are independent, and also we consider you as part of us because we are only one consciousness. So this is where everything is coming from. Whether you are in the nectar or not, for each person to take it on inward and alone find out. But otherwise, this all becomes just words. What is the experience? Where is your experience? I don't have to agree or support somebody's word just because I want to be nice to them. But it's okay. Like that's what she said. They know not what they do, means they know not who they are or what they are. So that's where it all comes from. Anyway, it's a good discussion. I enjoyed it. I hope you'll come back and then we'll have more discussions like this. I think we will. I think we spent half an hour with each other. That's good. And then we'll see you again tomorrow. I'll take leave now. Okay. Sanya, yeah.
Okay.
See you tomorrow. Bye bye.